Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is Josh Guerrero here, and welcome to the All Around Adventure Podcast. Whether you're joining me for the first time or you've been listening to the podcast for a while now, I certainly do want to welcome you here. And as always, I want to thank you for being here today. I know you're busy. I know you got a lot going on. And I also know there's a lot out there on the internet these days that's trying to get your attention. But it just means so much to me that you've chosen to download and listen to this podcast. Now, if you are in fact new to this podcast and you're not entirely sure what we're all about here, this is the show where you hear amazing tales from afar and get the all-important life lessons that go along with them. Those will be stories from the amazing guests that I welcome in this podcast, as well as stories from myself. And in this episode, you just have me today. This is just simply the solo show. Don't really have a fancy name for these solocasts like I used to in the past. This is just something that I do where I, speak from the heart. I don't really have a script in front of me, although I do have a couple of key points that I want to talk about today. But, I'm just going to be fighting from the hip a little bit and sharing some of my own stories, some of my own experiences. And I hope you all can take some good value and insight from them that you can implement into your own lives. Now, something I want to note really quick. You may hear some noise outside my apartment. Just right outside my window, there is a big fire engine, and I think I heard some other sirens in the distance, so we may have some other service vehicles showing up here in a moment. I thought maybe I'd wait till they leave, except I don't know how long that's going to take, and just... that's just how it goes sometimes. The world doesn't stop turning because I decided to step up to this microphone today. Either way, we're going to work through it and we're going to get through this together because I really want to get this content out to you all. And like I said, I hope it benefits you in some way. Now, you notice that the title for this episode is Surrounded by Killers. And when I say surrounded by killers, I don't necessarily mean in the literal sense, at least not all the time, but though in the context of this story that I'm going to share with you all today, the literal sense kind of does apply to a degree. And when I say surrounded by killers, I'm talking about people who are killing it in life. You've probably heard that said to some people, maybe even to yourself, once you achieve some success in something that you're pursuing. Some people would say, "Oh, you're killing it. Way to go." Something along those lines. That's what I'm referring to. So when I say surrounded by killers, it means that I've intentionally made it a point to surround myself with people who are killing it in life. There's this saying that maybe you might have heard before, and if not, then, here you go. But if you're the strongest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. And maybe you can also swap out strongest with a few other adjectives. Maybe if you're the wealthiest person in the room, or the smartest person in the room, or the most successful person in the room. If you are the most of any of those, and there's probably a few other adjectives that I didn't mention that you can throw in there. And if you're that adjective in the room, the most adjective, whatever, and then you're in the wrong room. Because if you are, then how can you expect to grow in that environment? And so that just leads to surrounding yourself with people who are excelling in other areas of your life that maybe you could improve on, or maybe that you can work on. Now, this is something that I made it a point to work on when I moved to Texas last year. I moved to San Antonio back in February of 2023, and I've been really trying to make it a point to connect with people in my new city, which has been kind of difficult because in my line of work as an archaeologist, I travel a lot. I'm probably gone about 2/3 of the time. So connecting with people in my new city certainly has been a challenge, but I've certainly tried to find ways in order to do so. And this actually involved getting out of my comfort zone a couple of times and to go to certain places or to partake in certain activities that maybe I was new to or unfamiliar with. And one of them in particular was a high caliber hunts hunting camp that I took part in back in May. Now, High Caliber Hunts is run by my friend Collin Cottrell. He's been a guest on the podcast a couple of times, and I'll include links in the show notes to some of his episodes. And I was a little bit nervous to go because I'm a newer hunter, and I knew that some of the other guys that were going to partake in this camp have been hunting a little bit longer than I have, and they were a lot better at it than me. So maybe I was a little bit nervous to go because I'd kind of feel like, the acolyte, or maybe I might appear incompetent or something like that. So I was a little bit reluctant to go, but I just said, you know what, I want to do this. This is a skill that I do want to learn. I want to learn how to become more self-sustaining and self-sufficient, and hunting is part of that equation. So I just, threw down the deposit, threw down the cost, and then I went off to hunting camp. And lo and behold, I was actually really, 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 really glad that I did so. A couple of days before the camp, something happened in my life that actually really, really, really got me down. And I won't go too much into details as to exactly what it was, but it's one of those things that if it happened to you or to someone else in the world, it would really probably bring you down quite a bit too. But the timing of it worked out as best as it could have, I would say, because the men that I interacted with at camp were just absolutely amazing. And of course, the whole purpose of high caliber hunts is to bring lots of like-minded men together, high caliber men together, to create camaraderie, community, brotherhood. And I definitely think that happened during this camp, because each one of these men were better than me in different areas of life, and each one of them were willing to share their knowledge, their insights, their wisdom with me to help me get through this situation. And it was definitely a great experience for sure. And and these men I'm still connected with long after this camp. And so that was something that was really beneficial to me, to be able to connect with, like I said, these men who are high caliber and who are also better than me in so many different ways, because that definitely played a huge part into my growth. And again, coming out of this tough situation that I was facing in my life. And now that's something that I certainly want to do as we go more and more into 2024. Is to continue to connect with great people and to continue to foster relationships like that, because I know that that's how I'm going to grow as a person. I've done a lot of amazing things, in my life on my own, but I noticed that a lot of my growth has been, tenfold, because I made it a point to connect with high caliber individuals. And that's definitely what I would encourage you all to go to do as well, is to connect with these great people. And again, people who are better than you in so many different facets of life, especially in areas that you may want to improve on. And I can just name off a few right away of people that I know in my life who are better than me in certain areas. Collin is a better hunter than me. Tyler is a better runner than me. Kyle is a better writer than me. Grant is a better martial artist. Rachel is better at business than me. Bree is better at climbing mountains than me. So all these people that I know that I'm friends with, they're better than me in all these different areas that I think I'd like to improve on. So it's definitely been great to connect with them, build these friendships with them, and to continue to foster these relationships moving forward. So now how can you do this? How can you find these people, and how can you create those connections and foster those types of relationships? I got a few key points that I want to go over with you all today. And the first one that I want to talk about is you have to be willing to go to where high caliber people congregate. Now, quick controversial statement that I want to say right off the bat here is, you're probably not going to find those people in maybe some of your go-tos. And what I mean by that, now this isn't going to apply to everyone, but if you like to go to the bar on a Friday night or on a Saturday night, you're probably not going to find these type of people in a setting like that. You're going to find these people in places that people would usually go to if they want to get better and improve themselves. So places like the gym, maybe like, the jiu-jitsu mats, or networking events, somewhere along those lines. Any place that is set up and facilitated for people to go to work on themselves. That's where you're going to find these high caliber people. So that's where you want. So think about that. Where can you go to where these people congregate? And again, go into those places, maybe getting you out of your comfort zone a little bit. They may be new or maybe unfamiliar to you, but shake off those nerves. Just get in there and then start trying to connect with these people and partake in these activities as well that are ultimately going to better yourself. And of course, like I said, put you in the same proximity of all these high caliber people. Now, the second point that I want to talk about is, once you go to these places, is take the initiative. There's no point in just going there and hoping that people will come to you. you need to be willing to, go to other people. That will be going to introduce yourself, shake hands, maybe ask for some tips and advice, from people, let's say like maybe in the gym, if, they look like they know what they're doing. Or like if you're on the jiu-jitsu mats, asking people if they'll roll with you or whatever the case may be. You got to take that initiative. And a good example of this is the guests that I have on my podcast. The overwhelming majority of the guests that on my podcast are people that I had to reach out to myself. I maybe can only think of like one, maybe two guests that I've had in my entire lineup who reached out to me first and asked to be a part of my show. Beyond that, though, every other guest involved me reaching out to them to make that connection and ask them to be a guest on my podcast. So tip number two, is take the initiative, reach out, and try to make those initial connections with people. Now, the third thing that I want to talk about, and this is an important one as well, and this is going to lead into continuing to foster those relationships, is to be a value add. It's obviously connecting with these people who are better than you in so many different areas. That does in turn benefit you, and it fosters your own growth. But continuing to work on yourself so that way you could be valuable to that person or that group. And so that way you may have your own set of skills, knowledge, insights, wisdom to bring to the table. That's what's going to foster that relationship moving forward as well. All right. So just to kind of recap these 3 points really quick. The first one is go where high caliber people congregate. Again, that's going to be places like the gym, the Jiu-Jitsu Academy, networking events, so on and so forth. Or in the case of the story that I brought forward in this episode, High Caliber Hunt's hunting camp. And I'll leave a link in the show notes to High Caliber Hunt's website if any of you are interested in checking that out. Second point is to take the initiative, make it a point to reach out to people first and establish those initial connections. And the third one is to be a value add. Continue to work on yourself so that way you can be a valuable asset to the people in your life and those relationships that you're trying to foster, or maybe in groups that you are looking to be a part of or are a part of. All right, everyone, that's all I really have for today. I don't really keep these episodes too terribly long. These solocasts are usually short, sweet, and simple, to the point, just something for you all to think about as you go into your week, give you a little something to chew on. But I hope you found this beneficial nonetheless. I want to thank you very much for taking the time for tuning in today. If you like what you heard, make sure you are subscribed to the podcast wherever you might be listening to it. Also consider leaving us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you might be listening to this. That'll get us trending higher so that way more people can find this podcast and get some value from it as well. And make sure you tune in next Monday, and I got a brand new episode featuring another fantastic guest. So be sure to tune into that one as well. Other than that, I thank you very much again, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Take care.